I'm Carey Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carey Stinson, and this is Purple Roads. Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carey Stinson, and I have so much fun this week. This is such a treat. I am thrilled to have Al Simmons, an entertainer, and we're going to get into this because music and books and props and entertains kids and families and adults. So this is going to be so much fun. Al, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see you. This is fantastic. I'm thrilled to be on your program.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. You're up in Canada.
Yes.
And I know things are a little bit different up there. We're a little more open here in the States with COVID and the pandemic. Are you all starting to get back out again?
Yeah, I actually have some shows booked in August. So it looks like things are opening up, but they're tentative. Like if regulations change, they can be canceled at the last minute. So we're still up in the air. I'm double vaxxed now. So yeah, I'm not getting older, I'm getting Pfizer. But yeah, so things are opening up, but just like everywhere in North America, it's hot here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We're
so hotter than normal.
Oh, we're breaking all kinds of records. Yep.
Wow. Did you do some of the what they're calling drive-in shows?
I did one a couple of weeks ago, and I never, of course, never did anything like that before, but it was interesting. People were in their cars, and the rule was you could get out of your car to dance or interact, but you had to always be touching the car with one hand. You had to be that close to the car. So it was funny, you can't control 5-year-old kids. Like how, make sure you dance and always touch the car. That's bizarre. But that was what it was. And it was interesting. I'd sing a song with a funny line in the middle of the song. And the cars would toot their horn like a laughter, but just a little toot. Like I'd say the funny thing, and they go honk, toot, honk, 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 like a little. Don't want to interrupt the flow. It was very cool. And then instead of applause, there was honking horns. And I said, let's try, instead of laughter, try do your windshield wipers. But that was a dismal failure. They were squirting other cars. I just said, stop that. But I did, there was a couple of really neat things that happened. I sing a variation of head and shoulders, knees and toes, and a car, one guy, one car anyway, I don't know who it was, would honk perfectly. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, honk, knees and toes, honk, knees and toes. It was right in rhythm. I said, congratulations. And then the other cars, I said, don't join in, because don't anybody else do that, because that person had perfect rhythm. So I said, let's try this. So I split the group in half, and I said, this half go honk, and these go 2 honks. Honk, 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 honk. So that worked for a while too. That was fun. But other than that, it was so hot and windy and not intimate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But isn't it wonderful that you developed and found a way to have so much fun and bring them all together?
Yeah.
In these crazy times.
I know, it was unbelievable to actually do a show after a year and a half. It was just, it didn't matter they were in cars. I need people watching me, cheering for me. Good for you, Al Simmons. We love you, Al Simmons. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm just
Well,
taking the compost out other than that.
well, I know that's been tough for entertainers. That trying to do Zoom and Facebook videos, you just don't have the interaction.
Yeah. And a lot of my stuff like that head and shoulders thing, I have variations that I do on it. And I really need to see the kids do it, and they need to do it. Like I've got teeth and cheeks and chinny chin chin, chinny chin chin, chinny chin chin, teeth and cheeks and chinny chin chin, earlobes, armpits, belly button. A kid yelled out, you can't say belly button on stage. It's like it's a swear word or something. So I asked for a vote. I said, anybody that doesn't think I should be allowed to say belly button on stage, honk your horn. And that kid he was outside, he ran around into the car and honked the horn. Oh,
Oh, well, or performing for kids. I've done it for such a long time. It, it's one of my favorite things because you never know what they're going to say or what they're going to do.
yeah.
They're so creative.
And they're so honest. Like they like something, they don't like. You can tell right away that I put stuff in even in a kid for the adults, and I say that song "Head and Shoulders" is a good song to for a greeting in these days where you can't shake hands or give hugs. You touch feet or whatever. But if people come up to me, I'm now 73 years old, and when people come up and say, "Hi, Al Simmons, how are you doing?" I can do that song. Uh, I can say, Bunyan, essential trimmer, losing my hair, losing my hair, losing my hair. Bunyan, essential tremor, losing my hair. Pacemaker, medial meniscus tear. That's my knee.
Oh, you
Anyway,
got me laughing already. I knew this was going to be so much fun. That's obviously got to be a huge part of your act and part of why people love you so much is this sense
well,
of humor.
that's nice of you to say that. People love me.
Well, you've been doing this a long time and you've won
Well,
awards
yeah,
and you've been successful. So there's a reason why you've been around so long doing this.
I'm like 53 years, yeah.
Wow.
And I actually started, uh, I started uh, in a rock and roll band. I didn't know how to get into showbiz. I had no concept of how to begin. Uh, I just knew I wanted to be. I would go to the movies and watch Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy, and Stan Laurel is a huge influence on me, and I just loved those guys. And so that, if anything, I would be the goofy sidekick in a cowboy movie. That would be my dream. But there was no outlet. But in Winnipeg, in the bars, they had a band in every bar uh, during the 70s, in the 60s and 70s. They had a band in every bar, and you could go in and have a draft beer for 25 cents and watch a quality band, like anything from heavy rock and roll music to an Al Jolson imitator. There was a
Wow.
guy doing blackface Al Jolson style. I'd give a million miles for one of your smiles, you know, and he'd be
Wow.
down on one knee, blackface. It's like, holy, and a ventriloquist with his dummy, all like such a variety. So I put an ad in the paper and said, singer looking for a band. And I formed this rock and roll band, and the keyboard player said, "You're crazy. We should call the band Out to Lunch." So that's but the first show that we did was in the heaviest rock and roll venue in Winnipeg, and we were the last minute replacement for one of the top rock bands in the city, and they hated us. They hated me in particular. I've got some of the requests that I can't say on the air. It's worse than belly button. Allison, you're a belly button. Go back where you belong. Anyway, they hated us. That was my premiere. They just hated us. And but the next week we were booked in a small town in Manitoba, and I went on the Monday and brought a box of hats. My dad was a hat collector, and I brought a box of hats, cowboy hats, sailor hats, all kinds of hats. And every time I sang a song, I put on the appropriate hat and acted out the lyrics to the song. And if you're acting out the lyrics to silly rock and roll songs, they become funny all of a sudden because the lyrics are ludicrous.
Right.
So all of it within, like my learning curve was Zoom. They just loved the band. We were crazy. We were fun.
So what you have such a rough start coming into it. Didn't affect you, didn't bother you at all, just made you try to figure out how to win an audience? Is that kind of what
Well, the
happened?
hardest part of it was that my mom and my sister were in the audience, and my brother-in-law were in the audience and there's a neighbor of ours, like just a couple of doors down, that was yelling the worst insults at me. So it was embarrassing for the whole family. But you know, I've come to the philosophy that in my occupation, and no matter what I do, there's three things. Either I'm going to learn something, I'm going to earn some money, or I'm going to have fun. And if whatever I'm doing, if it meets two of those things, I say yes. So if people call me and say, "Will you do this job? We don't have any money," and they tell me about it, I'll say yes, because it meets two of them. So anyway, that first one, without knowing that philosophy, that first one met one of them. I'm going to learn something. And we didn't earn much money. And I certainly wouldn't say I had fun. The keyboard player said, "We've got to learn 27 songs to get through an evening." That was, I guess, what he's figuring is 9 songs per 40-minute set.
Mm-hmm.
But they hated us so much that I ended the songs quicker than I should have. And we ended up, the last set was, I would say, "We did this song earlier, but we had a request to do it again. We didn't have enough tunes." So I guess I did learn something there big time.
So
But the
what
hats,
developed? Yes.
oh, I shouldn't interrupt. Yeah, you keep
No,
going.
no, I want to hear. No, 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 please go with
Okay,
it.
well, you can't, you better interrupt me every now and then. I'll just phone screen. The hats continued on. I ended up building. Well, I'll tell you what happened initially was the keyboard player. His name's Bob Peters. Incredible, he had perfect pitch. He would hear a cow moo in the pasture, and he would say that cow modulated from a B flat to a something, and a train go by. He would tell you what notes were in the train whistle and all that. But he built, do you know a Hammond B3 organ? When you play it, they've got a Leslie speaker that goes with it. And it's a twirling speaker that when it twirls, it's like a wah, 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 wah effect. It's like the Doppler effect of a train going by. Anyway, it adds to the sound of the organ, and they're very expensive. So he made himself one out of a record turntable, like goes 45, 33 and a third, 78 RPM. So it turns faster, slower, and a bicycle cable, a brake cable. So he could adjust those from a distance. He could adjust it with the cable remotely, what speed it's going.
Wow.
And he got a Tupperware container upside down on it with a stadium horn going through it. And he had a speaker going into the top of the Tupperware container. So the sound of his organs going in the top of the Tupperware container and coming out of the stadium horn. And so when it twirls, it makes that sound. And it sounded better than any Leslie speaker I heard. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said he kept that and he sold it to somebody for a sizable amount of money. It was so goofy looking. And he balanced it with chewing gum.
Oh, wow.
It was a little out of balance. So when I saw that, I thought, I could build wacky stuff. His was wacky stuff that actually did something, that had a purpose, but I could build wacky stuff that was just stupid. And so
Because that's become a big part of your show.
yeah, people have come to know me as the props guy, but it started with the first thing I built was a box that had noises in it. I got a siren, like car from Cars,
Right.
I put a car battery in it, and I had horn honks and sirens and auga machines and a cow moo thing, and then on the top I put a toilet seat with a lid. I could push a button and the lid would open up and two flags would come out and a blast of gunpowder would shoot off. And I ended up taking the flags down, put a hand coming up and waving. But I went to a gun shop and just bought black powder. Can you do that now? I just went and got black powder, and I took a toaster element, like from a toaster, an old toaster, the wire, it's nitro wire. And if you plug a plug into a socket and put power to one side and the other side, it turns red, glows, and it would blast the powder. So I put a little charge in there, and it would go foop at the end. This black powder would blow up. So we would sing, I'd sing, roll out the barrel, auga, we'll have a barrel, ding dong. It would be like that, eh? And then at the end, the band would hold the chord, and then the lid would open up and it would go poop. And the audience would just like, what the heck was that? So we were playing one of our first gigs in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba, and we were across the street from the most popular bar in town. We were across the street from there, and it was Monday night, and I thought if we do a good job Monday, we can pack the place. So I thought, I'm going to put in a double charge of gunpowder, and it's going to be great. So then I pushed the button to release it, and nothing happened. And the whole band is holding the chord, the diminished chord. Nothing. And I thought, oh, no, of all times to not. So I went over and I looked inside, and it was, I'm telling you, it was Wile E. Coyote. It was, you know, the cartoon?
Yeah.
It was like a moment like that. I looked in and I saw the wire turn red on one side of it. And I was fast enough noticing it, and I was fast enough that I was able to turn my head this far out of the way. That's all I could get out of the way. And it went in my face.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
My glasses were covered with smoke, and the audience was just howling with laughter. And I left the stage and went right into the bathroom and splashed my face with cold water, and eyelashes were welded shut and the hair was singed.
Oh my gosh.
But I didn't injure myself, thank goodness. But we packed the place from then on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, because you're still using the hat, you're still doing the hats?
The toilet seat's gone.
You've moved on to the next part.
But here's a hat. This is a hat that I built, and it was an idea that I had. I knew that it's made with coat hanger, bicycle spokes, and I knew that if I drilled holes in here in the exact location, that it would do a certain move. Anyway, I'll tell you the poem that goes with it.
Okay.
Now, how I came to build this hat is very strange and funny. I'm always trying to find new ways to save myself some money. To stretch a buck, I find it helps to think outside the box. See, look, I found an easy way, then I can dry my socks. Whoa! Oh, you can see, here's the inner workings that no one gets to see. Stop it! Stop the motor! Stop. This is the motor. It's a screw gun pointing down into the hat as if it's tightening a loose screw in my head. And this is the battery is on the back and the switch there. So when I turn the switch, it's a cam that's inside that does that motion. Oh man.
I should have warned people. They had no idea what was going to happen on this one. So how many hats do you have over the years?
Oh, I've never counted. Some of them I build and I try them out and they don't seem to get a reaction. So I park them and then I'll find them years later and say, oh, this thing, I would try that. And then it works. So yeah, I have no idea. I wouldn't count. And I build, what I've done with some of them is I build a mold. I made a mold of my head exactly so that when I build the thing, it can fit right on my head. And I'm able to then put like a wig on it. So it looks like actually part of my skull, It's
right.
Yeah. So I've gone to extremes.
Well, and then when did you kind of move from the band to moving to doing, I know it's not just kids, but doing children's entertainment and then family entertainment?
Well, I was doing, when I was in the band, my agent said to me, if you have a clown act, I can get you work on the weekends and during Christmas especially. So I said, well, how much does it pay? And he said, pays $35 if you're solo and $60 if you're a duo. And so I went home and told my wife, make yourself a clown costume. We're going to work. So 2 of us did clown shows for a long time. And that would be just on the weekends and at Christmas. So as well as doing the bar thing, I was doing that. And then I got to be careful. There's so many stories involved here, but and I learned on the go. There was one, I did a couple of shows solo, and one of them I was on my way to do the show, and I was pulled over by police and surrounded by police cars because apparently somebody in clown makeup just robbed a bank.
Oh my God.
So they assumed it was me, of course. So I was late getting to the show, and I got there and I had my banjo and I started singing songs and doing some magic acts and stuff. And the woman that hired me there said, no, that's not how you entertain kids. Step aside. She made me go aside and sit down, like almost in the corner, like you're a bad boy sitting. So here's a sad clown sitting at the side. She got her guitar and starts singing songs with her guitar, and all the kids knew her and knew the songs, and they're all singing along. Yay, finally entertainment. It was like, what the heck? So I had to.
So did you adapt your show over the years during that time?
Yeah, well, I kept adding stuff, and when it didn't work, it didn't work. And then I incorporated stuff that I was doing in the bar band as well. Like it's everything. Like when the band, I kept changing personnel, and the band was family friendly as well at that in those days. Like we were just doing the band. We would sing in the middle of summer. We'd sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the bar because it was funny.
Right.
And we did a spoof of Sesame Street skits, but it wasn't almost not a spoof. Sesame Street is so awesome that it was like a tribute to Sesame Street. We just sang the songs. The guitar player, Fred Penner, was Cookie Monster, and I was Grover Monster. And, so what we were doing was family friendly, and our agent ended up getting us work in the summertime at festivals and fairs, country fairs, where it's all families. And at the end of that summer, I just didn't want to go back in a bar again. So the band broke up and I end up solo.
And haven't looked back.
No, not till now. Not till you warned me. What's happening?
So then you started recording your own albums, and you famous for winning a Juno.
Yeah.
When did that come together?
Yeah. Well, it started when my wife and three sons and my wife and I have three boys. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And we went camping, and one of my sons was 3 years old, and he was collecting rocks like kids do. Mm-hmm. And but we went for a bike ride and came upon a brand new, freshly laid gravel road, all like gravel for miles. He just went out of his mind. He got off the bike and was filling his pockets with the rocks, and he was smart, so he tucked his pants into his socks and filled his pants with rocks. And then I hoisted him onto the bike with great effort, and we went back and I showed my wife what he did. It was so funny. And then I just sat at a table and wrote the lyrics to a song that became I Collect Rocks. And that's one of my popular songs. And at the same time, the boys were collecting feathers. Anytime they'd see a feather, they'd bring it to me. I'd stick it in my hat or my shirt or my buttonholes. And that became a song called Counting Feathers. And we were paddling a canoe around the lake. And it was so hard going. And the waves were getting so high, and the wind was so strong. We weren't even moving. And I was actually frightened. So I just started singing songs and making up words. And I said, it's like we're paddling the canoe down a river of glue. That's what it felt like. And I thought, hey, that's clever. Wait a minute. So that ended up, I thought, where would that happen? And I thought it's going to happen at a crazy camp. So Something's Fishy at Camp Wiganishi is where all that happened. Pitch your tent in the wet cement. Yeah. Do the breaststroke in the egg yolk. So it just, all of us, these songs just appeared. It's like a miracle.
Isn't that funny how that comes about? And then I think you saw with Barney, the movement, the music, the kids really react to that. And obviously you're doing that as well. And you're doing it with the props, and you're doing it with all those things.
Well, what I did when I ended up getting a lot of solo work for kids, and my wife and I were doing she was with me on stage too. We were doing a tour of schools and festivals in the Yukon territories here, and I had bought every Raffi record that I could and listened to them to try and get songs that I could sing for the kids. Because the songs I had, they didn't work. Like I had funny songs, and the teachers would laugh, but the kids didn't get it. So I listened to Raffi, and I said to Barb, I'm looking for a Raffi song. I can't find it. I want a song where the kids do actions and yell stuff at me. I've got, like, that's the song I want. And she just casually said, like she does, well, then I guess you better write one. So by the time we got to the next show, I had written a song called Something in My Shoe. And it's basically, it builds as you go. So like, as I was going for a walk, I got no further than half a block, something in my shoe, ooh, and I take it off and shake it. And what is it? It's a little wee stone. And then I get the audience to go like this. And then it's a bouncing ball, boing, boing, a flying bird, tweet, tweet, a locomotive, toot, toot. And I had other stuff in there. I had a dozen eggs. But I sang that song at a children's festival, and Raffi was in my audience.
Oh, wow.
And he said, that sounds like my song. I want to record your song. So he recorded the song that I wrote that I wished Raffi had, and Raffi recorded this. It's like, what? So he recorded my song.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And
Well,
it's all action based, like you say. Yeah. It's all, and that's, yeah.
well, it's incredible. I toured for 15 years with Barney, and to see those reactions to the green grass grows all around. We would
Yeah.
do all those things, and to see an audience doing them all, the raindrops and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I know, isn't it an amazing experience when you get an audience to jump into what you're doing?
Yeah, and especially for you, you had a passive view of what's going on. And uh, would you, with, I'm sure with handlers around you, you were allowed to receive hugs, were you?
Yes.
Mostly leg hugs or, yeah, anyway, you
Well,
would,
they would just grab onto the big belly as much as they
yeah,
could, but a lot of times it was leg hugs because yeah, Barney was very big, very tall.
that's, that's very cool. That's, what a good feeling that is, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing. And I always say, how much I got back from the kids. You go into it wanting to entertain, and the kids give you, like your story about the kid going around and honking the horn.
yeah.
That's it's precious. They don't even realize the gift that they're giving back.
Well, they say laughter is the best medicine. And for me, I can go on to a stage and not feel great, and come off stage and I feel great. The hearing the laughter builds me up, and I get so much energy from an audience. I just love entertaining, and I love performing for kids. I perform for the kid and everybody. But anyway, it's just, I feel so blessed get to do what I love to do for a living.
It's so interesting you say that because obviously a lot of adults came to our shows as well. And at first they come to it really for their kid, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to a Barney show and this and that." And then they end up having as much fun. When you
Yeah.
see the adults doing Mr. Knickerbocker and all that stuff, it's so much fun, and it's got to be the same for you. They probably think they're going to a kids entertainer, a children's entertainer, and then they end up having a blast with all of the things that you do.
Yeah, it's true. The adults, you have to be they say you can't be hypnotized if you don't want to be. Do you know what I mean?
I,
So you have to be a willing participant. But if it's a quality show like you guys would put on, the adults, they're gonna get involved. They're gonna love it. Yeah. Yeah.
well, and the kids, as we become adults, we lose all that. As a kid, you're free and you can have fun and laugh and all of that. And then it seems like as you become adult, now you have to act a certain way and you can't enjoy those things. But those are the lessons we learn from kids.
That's a fact. If you ask a 4-year-old, can you dance? Can you sing? Can you paint? Can you color? Can you anything? The answer is yes, I can. Absolutely. But when they get to be older, like a teenager, can you dance? No, I'm no good at that. Can you paint? No, my friend, she's really good at it. You know, can you sing? No, I might, but my mom sings. She's really good. It's like, why? When COVID hit, this is something, when COVID hit, I made little short videos on how to make music out of musical instruments out of just stuff you find around the house. And
Hmm.
one of my reasons was, uh, uh, you don't have to, like people say to me, Al Simmons, how many musical instruments do you play? And I say, well, all of them. Because it's play. Like if I'm going to play an instrument, you play. You, I play. My favorites are harmonica, banjo, guitar, trumpet, or bugle or something. But I'll play anything because that's the idea. Is play. You play it. If you want to become proficient and become Yo-Yo Ma or somebody, you got to practice for hours and hours and hours. And it's like juggling. If you're going to juggle, or accounting or whatever, you got to learn your craft. But But when it comes to music, we should just play, and you're not born with it. So I started these things, and I show people how to make musical instruments out of everyday things. And part of the thing was to just show them that you don't have to go and buy an instrument, and it won't sound as good, but you can make music. This is just obviously a tin can and two paint stir sticks. And I put a banjo string on here, but you could use a weed eater wire, or, a line, or even a rubber band. And then when you pluck it and you squish this, it makes the note higher. So let's see. Anyway, it's cool, eh? Two paint stir sticks. And here's another one. And this thing, I made 22 videos, and it's called Sounds Crazy. And they're all on my YouTube channel. They'll be there forever. And there's a booklet you can print out with instructions how to make them too.
I love it. I love it.
It's all free. Play music. This one is just a plastic container with a hole cut in the top and a balloon stretched over the top. And it's got a hose that goes, this is a fairly stiff hose because it's going in and it's pressing against the top of it. And then this one you blow through. So the air gets inside here, and the air can't get out until it flutters past the balloon. So it's like a reed instrument.
Uh-huh.
And it sounds just like a saxophone. Exactly. Beautiful.
Wow.
That was jazz.
Wow. So where do you come up with the ideas for that?
Well,
creating those instruments, because that's just fabulous.
Well, that one, a friend of mine said he was in Bali, which is on the other side of the world, in Bali, and there was young kids using a film container with a balloon stretched over it. It's my friend Tomasz Kubinek, a very funny vaudevillian character. And anyway, he said, "Oh, my friend Al Simmons, this." Nowadays, there's no film containers around. No one knows what film is. So just any plastic container will do. But yeah, they all come from different places. This one, I just knew there was a way to make a twanger. And it's really good for sound effects for recording. It's like cartoon. Really cool.
Well, I'm really interested. Where does this all come for you? That you're kind of fearless with all of this, that you're always trying and coming up with new ideas. You really don't seem to let anything get in your way. And it seems like when we become adults, the creativity gets pushed down. And for you, it seems like it's just flourished.
Well, yeah, part of me is I hate to throw anything away. And if I see something, I always look at it from, how can I use this? And invariably I'll say, well, it's useless, and throw it away. And then the next day I think, I know what I could have done. So, consequently, I'm a bit of a pack rat. I'm a bit of a pack rat. So, but I learned it along the way, I guess. Mom and Dad were frugal, and I remember when I met my wife and met her parents, and I went to her parents' house for supper for the first meal with them, and they weren't poor by any means, but the cooking pot that my mother-in-law was cooking Kartoffelknödel in, a German dish, had an axe handle for a handle. The handle broke off, and my father-in-law just fashioned a handle from a broken axe on the pot. I was thinking, man, these are my kind of people. Like, why throw away a pot with a and an axe with the handle broken? combine them. They're fixed, and we still have it. It still works.
I love it. I love it. So it seems like you go in different directions from musical instruments and hats and props. And are you always looking for a different direction to go, or looking for the next way to entertain an
Well,
audience?
yeah, I've well, my latest project is I've written a goofy tall tale about the gold rush in the Yukon. I've been up there so many times, and I just love the culture and Robert Service poems. Just the whole idea of the gold rush and how people went up there over the Chilkoot Pass and carrying an entire year's supply of provisions with them, like a ton of stuff. They have to make several trips, and then they get on the other side of the mountain. They have to build a raft to float downstream through rapids to get to where the gold is. By the time they got there, it was all gone. So it's just an incredible. So anyway, I wrote this tall tale story, and it's a poem, and I've recited it at my shows, and now I'm going to turn it into a book, an illustrated book. I've got an illustrator, and I've got I've tried applying for a grant, and uh, they said we know you, Al Simmons, but have you ever written a poem and put out a book before? And I said no, and they said, okay, you go down under the emerging artist category. I'm an emerging artist. So we'll see whether the
I
grant comes
love
or
that.
not. I'm going to do the poem. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, isn't that interesting? All the
Yeah.
things you've done, and now you're an emerging artist.
Yeah. So that's a whole new direction for me. And, if I put out a book, the book can be in people's homes. They can read the book, whether they've got COVID or not. It's COVID friendly, But the beginning of the poem, let me see if I can. It starts off with whistling. I first heard his whistle on the Chilkoot Trail. He was hauling 1 year's supply of provisions. He looked so forlorn and impossibly frail, but his bulging backpack drew my suspicions. No one found out from where he came. None of us ever got his name, but because of the contents of his pack, we called him Eggman behind his back. And then it goes on to tell what happens, and it's pretty crazy fun.
Well, it's very obvious from listening to that and talking to you and seeing what you do that you're really a natural born storyteller, and that you do it whether it's through songs or however the different mediums. Is that something you've always been good at?
Yeah,
Telling the story?
Well, my dad and mom were storytellers, and my dad would captivate us with stories of how he was walking home and it was dark, and there was a sheet in the wind just all on its own, and the sheet was going up and down, up and down. We were young, my sister and brother and I. We were sitting at his knee listening to, and we'd say, tell the up and down one, and the sheet's going up and down, all by itself. So I picked up a stick. I figure I'm going to throw it at the stick to make it go away. And he threw the stick at the sheet, and it went right through. And it turned out it's just a bunch of bugs hanging around a light. So many bugs that it looked like a sheet going up and down. Well, he had us scared out of our wits. So yeah,
so
stories, yeah.
Yeah,
and
and you just picked up on that and continued it.
I guess so, without even knowing any difference. And my dad worked. He traveled and saw a lot of vaudeville acts in his day, and he knew their routines. So around the house, he's walking into cupboard doors, smashing his face like it's on purpose. It didn't really. It's just a shtick,
Right.
and make one arm longer than the other, and making his thumb disappear. And I can't remember what else, all these crazy things. We grew up as normal. Yeah,
And that's obviously inspired you because you're doing some vaudeville, obviously, in your shows.
he'd make a face and scare the wits out of us, like chase us around the house. Yeah. And then we were, we went to one of my cousins got married. We went to the wedding, and the other family made an announcement at the stage. The other family is so funny. They're all so funny. I'm going to get one of them to come up and tell a joke. One of you come up and tell a joke. Which one is going to tell a joke? And I was sitting with my cousin, and I said, that's funny. I never thought of that. We're not joke tellers. We're all storytellers, and we enhance the story. Like my cousin Janet can just tell a story of how she caught the bus downtown and what she saw on the bus, and she'd have us in stitches. And my aunt Georgie, I could play a game of Go Fish with her and laugh harder than I ever would at any comedian that was on TV.
Well, it's interesting that you can get, I'm trying to think how to say this, but that you can get these reactions from the audiences with the simplest, right? These simple hats and props and stories. And it was one of my favorite things about Barney is that Barney could go out and entertain, and there was music and a few lights, and that was it. We didn't need a massive stage production to entertain, and you're doing that as well with a simpler show, but still bringing out these huge laughs and this wonderful entertainment.
Yeah, there's something to be said. Like my stuff that I build is all primitive. There's nothing high tech. There's no, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not remote controlled or anything. And, there's Barney. It's a stuffy, basically a large animated stuffy on stage dancing, and it's simple. And the kids can come home and take their Barney or their stuffy and put on a show. Like it, do you know what I mean?
I do.
It seems for me, the stuff that gets the biggest laugh for me is when I say something that the audience is going to think of 5 seconds later. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
You just state the obvious, like nothing, don't go too far-fetched. Yeah. I hate analyzing humor because it's hard to figure that out, to do how or why anyone laughs. It's just a bonus. Well, I got gangly legs and floppy feet, and it seems to work in my favor. So,
well, and I talk about it a lot on this show. The authenticity. I think the authenticity of the performer with the audience, especially with kids. Kids can tell. They can tell, and you're with them. You're with them. You're just having fun, and they can tell that.
Yeah, well, I absolutely am. And
you got me laughing the whole time.
Well, I was just thinking now, you've got me really analyzing this, because when I was young, my dad, Sunday was a play day. He was off, he was home, and he would fool around with us, making a snowman outside or making a fort out of the kitchen, the living room couch cushions and blankets and tables and all of that stuff. And I realize now the hats he had, I don't know if this will work. It's got to be a soft hat. Anyway, tuck the corner, like I'm tucking the corner of the hat in.
Right.
Dad would do this with us, and we would be pirates. Although it looks like I got a chicken on my head, but same difference. Hey, are you a pirate, or have you got a chicken on your head? You never know. You have to ask, right?
Well, it's such an important lesson you're teaching, that it's okay to have fun and to laugh. And I think we get so serious sometimes. And especially there's a point where we lose it, from being a kid where we can have so much fun to all of a sudden we're so worried about everything.
Imagine me, well, not only me, but this is all about me though, isn't it?
Right this moment, it is.
It is just for, I have my 1 hour of me time. But
Yes.
when COVID hit and I had the busiest year of my career booked, and when it all fell apart, I must admit I was devastated. Like I couldn't find too much humor there when, because, or, doing the shows is one thing, but organizing an entire year of how am I going to get from here to there to travel and all of that stuff. And
Hmm.
that, for that to all go down the drain, that was brutal. But then it just dawned on me, well, what can I do now? Like I'm not just going to sit around. It was my brother-in-law that said to me quite crudely, "What are you going to do? Just sit around?" In some more crude language, but he was true. It's true. What are you going to do now that you got nothing to just sit around? No, just get back, do something, do anything. Yeah.
What's it going to be like for you to get back on stage?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's just going to be wonderful. That show with in front of a bunch of cars at a drive-in, that was fun, but nowhere near what it's going to be like in a theater or at festivals once they start up again. There's a bunch of festivals they're planning 2022. They're they're thinking that, but we don't know, do we? This might not end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know, but you're starting to see it here too. People are being safe about it, but you are starting to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever, no matter what, I'm just going to keep going. Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you get all this energy from?
Well, from the audience, like I said, like you've inspired me, just hearing you laughing and talking to you just has me inspired to go and build stuff. And then also kids, my granddaughters teach me the latest TikTok dances, and I try and do them on stage. Fail miserably, but it's comedy. So, yeah, why not give it just try it.
So, do you have something you want to do next? So the books, obviously, you're going to work on that. Is there something after that that you wanted to do?
Yeah, well, that's one thing. And I've got more songs that I've written that I'd like to record. But the problem is nobody's buying CDs anymore. No one's buying
Right.
music. And each one of my CDs cost $30,000
Wow.
for studio and recording uh, costs and all of that, arrangers, music arrangers. I just can't be sinking that amount of money into recording if no one's buying. I don't understand where the wisdom is. But what am I to do? I made a mistake and I wrote a bunch of songs. What am I supposed to do? Am I got to stop writing songs? I don't know.
Well, it's what they're doing now. It seems like you're really just writing them for your live performances.
Yeah. And I do them and it's fun to do that. But when I'll go tour and I'll do a 1 hour show and I've got so much material. At the most, I can put in one new song because people are wanting the standards, the regular ones. I sing a song where uh, the letters on an eye chart, a sing-along eye
Yeah.
chart, the letters turn into words when you sing them. So the letters on the chart say G, I, Y, Q, S, I, 2. And when you sing it, they turn into words. So you say G, I, Y, Q, S, I, 2, S, I, 2, U, R, A, Q, T, S, Y, I, Y, Q.
I
I,
love that.
yeah, it's fun. So that one I have to do every show, and when I tour where I'm known, the audience can sing it all by themselves. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, Al, it's been such a pleasure having you on. Is it possible to get you to sing another song before we finish up?
Well, yeah, I'll show you one more hat,
I love that.
and then I'll play a harmonica while you say goodbye.
Perfect.
Now, I was telling you I made a fiberglass mold of my head, so
Yeah.
this is the exact shape of my head. So
Okay.
it fits on nice and snug. It's amazing, eh? And I've made ones like this that I cover with a wig. And when I
Uh,
put it on, you can't tell that it's a hard shell. So when there's something bolted to the top, it looks like it's bolted to my head. But this one I specifically made so that it looks all metallic. And I
okay.
have to adjust this so that it's going to work here. There, that's, you got to get the whole effect. Now, uh, I'm just so excited to be entertaining. I'm telling you, this is fun for me. Uh, Now, I've been building crazy hats for almost 50 years. I never thought I'd have to face the worst of all my fears. Under every hat, I always look completely like a goof. I figured it's time that I built one that was fireproof. Oh, does it look like flames?
It does.
Do you have a marshmallow you want to roast?
Oh my gosh.
We're alerting the neighbors. We better shut it off.
I love it.
Oh, another one too. Here, this
Yes.
is a broken bicycle pump that
All right.
actually cost quite a bit of money. It's a high quality bicycle pump that I can't remember how to open. Gee, oh, it twists there. It's a high quality. I won't show you the brand name because it's too
Okay.
bad. It's I turned it into a pop gun instead of a bicycle pump. Why? Don't throw anything away. One more.
Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. So you got a harmonica? You play
Yeah.
some on the way out?
What a delight to talk to you. Thank you so much. You're so much
Pleasure
fun.
talking to you.
Yeah.
Such
And
a pleasure.
Barney would be COVID friendly basically because you are between many layers of fabric. You know what I
Yes.
mean? When you think of
Yes.
it, that's an ideal situation for COVID friendly performances and hugs and everything. It's all legal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, cheers and thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. As Al plays us out, remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your purple road. We'll see you next week.